committee will be known as the chair of the council. Her deputy has not yet been named. Tony.
Thank you very much, Mark. And now we'll try and get that story that Rob McLaughlin was interrupting you so urgently to tell us. It's all about how last night a young man called Roger Wood returned home to Kelsall near Chester. Roger has spent 6 weeks in Harefield Hospital in Middlesex, recovering from a pioneering heart and lung transplant. Roger's only the third cystic fibrosis sufferer in the world to undergo the transplant operation. His speedy recovery has astonished doctors. Rob McLaughlin now takes up this story.
There's no doubt that without the double transplant operation on October 2nd, then Roger Wood, who's enjoying a game of snooker here on his own, would have been another fatal victim of the genetic disease cystic fibrosis. When Roger was born, his mother and father were told that it was unlikely that he would survive beyond the age of 9. Doctors were convinced that the hereditary disease cystic fibrosis, which attacks the linings of the lung and stomach, would end his life prematurely. So the fact that Roger survived into his teens is in itself remarkable. But as he got older, each day got harder, and the intensive physiotherapy needed to remove mucus from his lungs had to be increased.
Heartbreaking to watch our son suffer. I think it must be heartbreaking for any parent to watch their children suffer of anything. Doesn't matter if it was cystic fibrosis, whatever disease it was.
Well, at school they used to have sports day and I used to see all my friends doing that, and I'd never do PE. You know, I always used to be off. But I used to like to play badminton and that.
And you couldn't do that?
Like that. It's got worse over the years.
It was Roger who originally suggested the double transplant operation after hearing of 2 earlier attempts on cystic fibrosis victims. Both sufferers died after the operation, but Roger still wanted to go ahead with it.
I saw it on the television. A young girl had heart and lungs, and I wondered whether I could have them.
Was she a cystic fibrosis sufferer?
Just don't know what she had wrong with it, but I asked my doctor whether it could be done on me.
Each day, Roger has to take the equivalent of 12 tablets to avoid his body rejecting his new heart and lung. At one time, however, in his youth, he had to take as many as 80 tablets a day. Roger can now do things, including a little trampolining, that he couldn't do before the operation. And he has a real ambition.
My main ambition is to work. I want to go to work as soon as possible.
And to do what?
I'd like to be a mechanic.
Quite honestly, if there was any parents watching in now with a child with cystic fibrosis, treat them normally. Just be hard and they'll come through, and I hope that they'll show their zest of life as Roger has. He just lives for today all the time, and now of course he's living for tomorrow and the next day and the next day.
Medicine is marvellous. Rob McLaughlin reporting. And now the weather ain't that marvellous. It has been freezing cold, but I hear the